Hello, everybody. Hi, my name is Patrick McDonald, and I'm broadcasting from Greensboro, North Carolina. Um, I was this Google Hangout is called Virtual Publics. It's about social media and the design practice. And I was asked by Edward Orlowski, who is a professor at Lawrence Tech in Detroit, to speak with a class that he's instructing in. Talk about how the importance of social media, the rise of social media, and what it's like the practical aspects of it in your practice. So here we are. Just a little bit about me. My name is Patrick. I'm originally from Carrollton, which is right outside of Dallas. I grew up there 17 years. I'm an urbanist by trade. I have a master's degree in urban planning, and I also have a master's degree in education. So I'm like kind of this hybrid where it's about learning about cities and also using my education background to kind of mix it up and teach people about cities and how to use them, how to access them. So I'm an urbanist, I'm a designer, I'm a strategist. And those are kind of three key terms that are all how I operate in this sector that we call urban planning, urban design. So anyway, the way the format's going to work, I have a couple things that I'm going to say and just some basic premises, basic concepts about social media, about the how I've been using it, and then I'm going to field some questions from Edward's class. So they're joining me online now, so they're G-chatting or typing in the Q&A section. So, all right, so let's go into the jumping off point. So, about 3 years ago is when I started to really get into social media. Of course, Facebook's been around for 10 years. Instagram popped up in 2010. Same thing with Snapchat, right around the same time. Twitter's been around longer than that. So social media has been around for a decade. It's no longer some play tool. It's no longer just for fun. It's a thing now. It's an actual thing that people use to communicate and to connect with each other. So the jumping off point for me is, if you're not sharing, it's not cool anymore. Welcome to the collaborative economy. And that's really what I want to get at as far as public interest design, community design, human-centered design, any kind of social design practice, social impact design practice that we're working on and that's happening today is this idea of the collaborative economy. We are living in a world where your neighbors are participating with you and your work in a digital environment, in a digital city, a digital platform. So thinking about that in context and wrapping your design practice in context, you have many different layers, many different levels. You have your local, you have your state, you have your regional, and you have global. So it's like small, medium, large in a sense of how many people you can reach in the work that you're doing. So as designers, we draw a lot of stuff. We draw a lot of shapes and lines, and we like to push pixels. We like to make beautiful drawings and beautiful artifacts that people can interact with, and that's how we participate in design practice. That's how we show the world how we're interacting with ideas of community, with ideas of neighborhoods, with ideas of what it means to live in a city, what it means to interact with environments. But for the most part, I found that a lot of the stuff that we do usually gets filed away into a folder somewhere or a hard drive somewhere, and it never gets shown to anybody. So I like to think of the work that we do. I want to make sure that we're not just saying we're going to start a project and then we're going to go for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, and then at the end of the project we're going to announce that we're done and say, guess what, guys or gals, we did this thing and now we're going to tell you what we did and hope you like it. Doesn't really fly with how we can communicate with each other. if we have the ability to talk through the entire process and to show folks what it looks like to draw sketches, what it looks like to come up with preliminary ideas, ideas that fail, good and bad ideas. I mean, as a designer, we go through this. The design process basically starts. Here, let me take you through the design process. So first, you come up with a concept, right? Well, first you're given parameters. You have to go. You're given a problem. You're given parameters, and at the very beginning, you start with a concept, and then you shore up your concept really quickly. I like to do it in the first 72 hours, and then after that, you come up with. You start creating drawings and start creating diagrams and taking pictures and documenting and observing, so that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days later, you have an understanding. You're doing the research, right? You're doing the research, but then you're also interacting with your place, with practical problems that arise that you didn't foresee when you initially started, and so you get to a place in 30 or 60 days where what you started with was not the same thing, or the place where you're at is not the same thing that you started with. So to me, it makes sense just to document that entire process, to show people, and to show yourself like how you're thinking, because understanding how your thinking changes over time I think makes you a better designer, makes you a better communicator, makes you a better citizen, really, because like we're all, if you think about the city and how we participate in it, we're all community members of the city, right? We're all citizens. So I've kind of gone off track a little bit, but for me, the design process you need to showcase all of it. It needs to be completely transparent. And for me, the most transparent platform is social media. Bam. Anyway, all right. Plus, if you're doing cool shit, people want to know about it. People want to access it. People want to access you. And so if you are on Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat and Facebook, then people have a line, a way to talk to you, right? So it's not like a cold call or a blind email. They can go online and they can see what you're doing. They can interact with your work on a day-to-day basis. I mean, imagine, okay, so for me, some of the designers, some of the urbanists that I learned about when I was in grad school, William White, Kevin Lynch, Jane Jacobs, right? All of these folks wrote about their experience, or they filmed their experience. I think, Kevin Lynch, Image of the City, if you haven't read that book, go pick it up. It's like 90 pages. It breaks down urban design, the urban design elements. Kevin Lynch, he was like very big into mapping and getting people's understanding and awareness of to draw maps to, not how we look at a Google map, but to draw a map via their experience, like how they got from their home to their work. And it wasn't necessarily point A to point B, but it was more of like thinking about the spatial environment, the things that they have from their memory. So it's more of an experiential understanding of the urban environment. And then you have William White, who filmed movies, filmed documentaries about social spaces. I always get the title wrong. It's like the social life of small public spaces, I think. So he had a project that this project was something that he was working on in New York. And if you can go on YouTube and you can watch like all of the episodes or just one long episode, what I recommend, going and looking and seeing what William White was doing. He was just documenting the urban environment and providing commentary. He was laying over commentary on what has now become kind of like this seminal thing that we study as far as how to go out into an urban environment and what to look for and what to observe. By the way, William Holly White was a sociologist. He's a sociologist. He was really like he was studying human behavior and how humans interact with the urban environment. So drink that in. One of the most famous urbanists is actually a sociologist. drink that in. Anyway, so what I wanted to get to with that is that some of the most famous urbanist designers that we study today were documenting their work, either through writing or through video. So they were, in a sense, the original social media people. You know, they were ahead of their time. Like, this is the 70s, 60s, and 70s when they were doing this kind of stuff. So fast forward to today, and we have all of these platforms. If you have one of these things, a smartphone, you basically have a media company in your pocket. The video is so good, the images are so good on these things. You don't even need a DSLR. You don't even need a pro camera. All you need is, you know, is a smartphone. All right. So as far as thinking about documenting things, how do we go about documenting, right? And how do we arrange the information so that people can interact with it and that we can share it with folks and that it helps our social impact design, public interest design, all of those different forms of community design. So I could sit here all day and tell you that you need to do it, but to not provide the infrastructure, to not provide you like the ways in which to do it, then it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to break it down real quick. I'm going to break it down the way I use it. I'm going to tell you the infrastructure for me. The infrastructure for me, I'm going to hold up my cell phone, is, look on the bottom. It's Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and that's Snapchat right there. So, all right. Twitter for me is a cocktail party. It's where I publish my stuff. It's where I retweet other people's stuff and talk about things, urban, technology, design. So that's kind of this conversational thing. And I'm also able to follow people and connect with them and see what they're talking about and what they're thinking about. It's kind of like LinkedIn without knowing somebody. You know, you can go follow them and see what they're doing and get a sense of, you know, the kinds of ideas that are being put out there. So if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. Tumblr for me is where I document all of my digital work. Not necessarily writing, but pictures and video. So there's 4 main formats that that the internet is made up of: images, video, audio, text. Remember that. Remember that forever, because those 4 basic elements, images, video, audio, text, are the foundation for what you're publishing online. You know, in the real world, IRL, you're a designer, you're an urbanist, you're XYZ. Online, you're a content creator. You're producing content and publishing your ideas and your work in those 4 forms: images, video, audio, text. All right. So that's where I publish it on Tumblr. I publish my stuff to Tumblr in whatever format it is on a daily basis, usually towards the end of the day. So it's not like I just created something and then I'm publishing it right away. I refine it a little bit, but it's taken, you know, a couple years to understand where to get the product, or where to get the content to a point that it's good enough to publish. A lot of my stuff is not complete. It's not 100%. Sometimes it's more like 60 or 90. But pushing it out there gets you in the practice of publishing your work and having people react to it. So if you're right now, you're in school, you're in undergrad, you're in grad school, and the people that are helping to judge your work are professors or instructors, right? But IRL, the people that judge your work aren't giving you a letter grade. They're giving you a heart, they're giving you a thumbs up, they're giving you a star, or they're not giving you anything. Like, and people are real, man. Online, people are real. If they don't like something, they tell you. That's how you get graded IRL in the real world. So start getting into that mode now. Start publishing your stuff. Publish. publish. Publish your stuff. Documentation is marketing. If you want people to know what you're doing, you have to tell people, and people want to know about it. Cool. So, all right. That being said, if anybody ever tells you that digital is bad, that social media is bad, that it's unimportant, turn around and walk the other way. It is so crucial. It is so crucial to design practice now. It is that, it is that lifeline to what you're doing. It's transparency. It is, it's showing people how you think, what you're about, what your overall outlook on life is, and what the things that you're interested in. Imagine if Jane Jacobs, imagine if William Hawley White were if we had their innermost thoughts when they were writing these books, and we wouldn't just have to go on the 400-page document that they created 30 years ago. Imagine what it would be like to understand their thinking and what they were researching and who they were communicating with. I mean, that's where we're at now. That's where we're at now. Oh, okay. So, before I get to some of the questions, I want to talk about one other premise, which is thinking about the types of stuff that you should be looking at, the types of things that you should be working on, documenting. For me, the big thing is as an urbanist is observation. An urbanist or a designer, to go out and document your environment and to be interested in other people's stuff. If you want to be interesting, be interested. Go talk to people. Go join clubs. Go, hang out with community and take a picture. It takes 2 seconds to take a picture. It takes, even less time, or you just push a button now on your cell phone and you can publish it. So yes, it does take a little bit getting used to, as far as like getting in the rhythm of doing social media. It's a discipline, just like everything else. It takes time to get used to. And at first, I remember the first couple months of my Twitter, I was just overwhelmed with how much content there was constantly streaming. But once you get over that hump, then it becomes enjoyable. It becomes a conversation. It's a discipline. I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to say that social media becomes a requirement in the next 5 years when it comes to design practice. It becomes a requirement, right? I mean, you're sitting in a class listening to me talk about social media. You're taking a class where you have to learn how to blog and to use social media in order to express and articulate your ideas online. But I'm calling it, it's going to become a requirement to being a good designer, a good urbanist, a good strategist. So yeah, be interested in other people's stuff. Talk to other people. Share their work. I mean, how much fun is it to sit in a conversation where somebody talks about their stuff all the time? It's not that fun. So I guess there's kind of a gauge. There's for every 10 tweets, I would say that 3 tweets are about my stuff. 3 tweets are about stuff I'm interested, or other people's stuff, and then I'm also like retweeting, and so there's kind of a breakdown. But I would say about 30% of my tweets relate to me. Other than that, like, I try to make sure that I'm keeping up with what's actually going on in the world and responding to what's going on. So all of my stuff that all of my social media is in real time. I don't schedule any of it. I'm reacting to what's happening at the moment, on the moment. Okay, so going to some of the questions. One of the questions is, how can students best build an audience for their content? It takes time. It takes time. So start now. The best thing that I've figured out, I don't know if it's the best, but the thing that I figured out is give yourself a year. if you're starting in January, go from January to January 2015 to January 2016 and see what an entire year of social media looks like on Twitter, on Instagram, on Tumblr, on Snapchat. They're all different platforms. Respect each of the platforms. So tweeting, right? Twitter. The component for Twitter is a tweet. It's 140 characters. You can add a picture. The component or the breakdown for Instagram is a gram, right? So you have a picture in a square box, and then you can write like a little tag. And for Tumblr, it's a blogging platform, but you can add multiple, up to 10 pictures on that, or you can post a single video, or you can post text. And then with Snapchat, it's just images. And for me, Snapchat is like very, very hyper local. People that I've met, people that I'm talking to, I like the story feature. And so give yourself a year to work on building an audience. It takes time. It takes time. It's just like a relationship. It's just like getting to know someone. You don't know everything about someone in the first night that you meet. I would say give yourself a year. After the first 30 days, you have a little bit better understanding. And after the first 90 days, then you can kind of see how things are shaping up, what the flavor of your own online identity, your own content creation is. For me, I've parsed it down over time into a few basic categories: design, tech, social media, science, music. There's a couple things that I stick to, right? And that I'm interested in, and I report on a regular basis. So regularity is one of the things that will help you define your own content, your own identity, your own brand, and then help other people to relate to you. So every Friday I post something about bikes, right? Okay, so it just takes time. And then I would also say follow people that you're interested in. Follow people that are in your field. Like, I'm a fanboy of a lot of different people. I follow them, and companies that I'm interested in, and that's how I get to know. Even if I can't be at the company, I can participate in what they're doing by going and following them. It's that simple. So follow them, get to know them. You can tweet directly at people. It's called handle flirting, where you say, "Oh, I love your stuff," at whatever the person's handle is. And for the most part, people get back to you. It's great. So you have to go and hustle. You have to go and be consistent, post consistently, post about topics that you're interested in and that you can relate to other people about. And that over time, when you keep doing it, then you start to build an audience, right? Okay. I have another question. Information gathering phase of a project. How can you best use social media to get data from the community? How do you overcome the bias inherent in the tool, i.e. limited computer access? So I would say that social media, okay, don't just think that you can solve all the problems with social media, right? That everybody has an iPhone or a smartphone. It's not true. So there's a balance. I know it's cliche, but there's a balance that you have to do some digital, some analog, right? There's different audiences that you're working with. And for all intents and purposes, the class that you're focusing on is thinking about the virtual publics. So I would say that the digital and the analog it could be argued that they're two separate audiences. But I see a lot of interlace and a lot of overlap with both of them. It's just, figuring out where people are and meeting them where they are in their context. So as far as using social media to get data, there's ways to collect tweets, there's ways to collect Instagram pictures, there's ways to get all that information. For the most part, okay. So the way I can think of directly is everybody has an API, right? An API. So Twitter has an API, Instagram has an API. Basically, they give you access, limited access to data that they've been collecting, and then you can take those data sets and you can map them. You can put them in tables and spreadsheets and get charts out of them. That's one way to do it. But for me, more often than not, I think social media is just a tool for connectivity, for communication, and then so I think it's a door to that conversation. But if you want to look for more of a direct relationship, go look at APIs. Go look at people's APIs. It's open data that companies publish, and just about everybody has one now. You know, it used to be that everybody had a website and that everybody has social media. Now every company has an API, and that's giving you access to their data. Cool. So, all right, we're almost to the end of the talk, and for the most part, it's just kind of laying out some of the overall concepts, the overall ideas, kind of the infrastructure of social media, and thinking about how to use it in your design practice. You just got to get used to it. You have to integrate it into your workflow. It has to become part of what you do. And at the beginning, it's hard. Storytelling is effing hard. It's hard. That's why not a lot of people do it. But the people that do it, we end up, going to them because they're talking about their ideas out in the public, right? If you want to become a public thinker, if you want to become a thought leader, you have to put your ideas out so people can respond to them. You have to put your ideas out in the world. So speaking of putting ideas out in the world, another question, is Facebook still a viable social media platform for a public interest designer? For me, I'm focused mostly on mobile. I'm focused mostly on what I can access on this little screen right here. Remember I was telling you there's each platform has its own context. So the way I think about Facebook is more of a local audience, more of a local and family and friends type audience, right? Those are people you went to school with in high school and college, or that you're friends with on a local level. So yeah, it's still a viable platform. I think Instagram is taking over. Instagram is taking the place of Facebook, right? Because it's mobile and you can do this, you can flip through. This is how people interact with your work now. They flip through. So it's quick and it's fast. Facebook owns Instagram, so they're basically one and the same. Just one is on a mobile, one is started on a mobile platform, and the other one is Facebook is starting to become more of a mobile entity. So as far as public interest design for any kind of social media that you can get on, doesn't matter. It could be something obscure, like or I even get on. Let's see here. I even use Yik Yak and what else? There's some interesting platforms coming up that are like media based. It's one called Stellar, one called Storehouse, and these are just basically reframings of Tumblr. So one of the things that I've figured out is one of the things that I do regularly is go to the App Store and look at the new social medias that are coming out, new social media apps, and download them and start working with them, start playing with them. Everything, like from Vine to Snapchat and to Yik Yak. So everything has its own context, and over time they start to gain more and more. They start to become something. So I'll test them out. I'll test all of them out. There's main ones. The main ones that I've shared, I think there's 4 main ones that I've already shared with you. And Facebook is, for me, Facebook and Instagram are interchangeable. So any social media platform that you can use it. Because it's that whole transparency thing. Like for me, social media's been around for 10 years. It's a thing now. We are used to publishing our thoughts and ideas, right? So it's just common now. Everything is public. Everything is public. Just in case you didn't know, if you use the internet, then your anonymity is no more. I mean, that's the price of using the internet, right? Is people collect data, is people are they have an into your to your world. And for me, that's a good thing. As a public interest designer, as a community designer, I want to make sure that I'm communicating what I'm doing, and then I'm not just coming out of left field, and then I'm not just showing you the beginning of the process and the end of the process. I want you to know what's happening, and as far as community building, it's freaking amazing how big of an impact it has played in my work over the last 2 years. Look, I just moved to Greensboro. I found a hashtag, SoGSO. I use that hashtag, and I've met like half of the people in Greensboro that are on social media. I've met a whole community just from a hashtag, through a hashtag. So yeah, it's super, super duper important. Anyway, final thoughts. All right, final thoughts. If you're not sharing, it's not cool anymore. If you want to be interested, be interesting. Or sorry, if you want to be interesting, be interested. If you're doing cool shit, people want to know about it. So they want to be able to access it, and they want to be able to access you. And documentation is marketing. Documentation is transparency. That's all I got for today. I'd love to continue the conversation even more. I hope that this broadcast has been helpful. And yeah, have a great one. Go out, get on the social media platforms. Let's follow each other. Let's build that virtual community, that virtual public. All right, have a great one.